As you guys already know, Sean Diddy Combs is still in federal jail. Now, the most crazy part of this is he's probably the only person in the world that is sitting in jail for paying for a prostitute. Okay. And this is real. Now, his attorney, the lead attorney, is speaking out because listen, y'all, we have to treat people the same. Why is this man still in jail for paying for some hoes or whatever y'all call them? He's still. But then you have the Abercrombie CEO who was literally trafficking children. But you got this man still sitting in jail on these bull ass charges. It's just not right. Now, I don't care if you hate Sean Diddy Combs because it seems like that's what everybody is saying. But the fact of the matter is you cannot imprison someone for something that they didn't do. All of the stories about, Kim and all of this other stuff, the man wasn't charged with it, y'all. So let's get into what his attorney is saying.
Great to be with you. Thank you for being on the program today. And might I just say, I got to see you deliver the closing arguments in the case, and you were an outstanding advocate for Mr. Combs.
Oh, thank you very much. And thanks so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So let's get into this bail package that you have proposed. I read your motion and you talk about the exceptional facts of this case and how the way the Mann Act is being applied is kind of like one of a kind. Would you walk us through what you mean by that, please?
Sure. So the Mann Act was passed in 1910, and it's changed a few times through the years. But really what it's geared at, what it's focused on, is prosecuting people who make money from the business of prostitution. And that's not the allegation against Mr. Combs. The allegation of Mr. Combs, what the jury found, essentially was that he was a user of services provided by sex workers, essentially a John, for lack of a better word. And the Mann Act just historically hasn't been applied to Johns. It's a financial statute. It's really been applied at people who look to make money from prostitution. And so since that's not how it's being applied here, we made the argument that we have to, under the case law and the statutes in this area, that this is an exceptional reason and that Mr. Combs should be considered for release on bail because of it.
Mark, I read in your motion, you say that Mr. Combs may very well be the only John sitting in a jail right now for his crimes. What makes you say that?
So we've done a nationwide survey of Mann Act cases, and we're not all the way finished, but we've looked at probably close to 100 cases. And we don't see any other case where a John, the user of prostitution services, is being prosecuted under the Mann Act. There are instances where the user of prostitution services has some kind of connection with the arranger, the organizer, the people who make the money from the prostitution services. But in terms of just being a straight user of services provided by a sex worker, we think he might be the only person in the country.
I certainly see what you're saying and can appreciate the legal argument you put forth in your motion for bail for Mr. Combs, Mark. And even if the judge agrees, let's say the judge agrees that this is an exceptional application of the Mann Act and your client may be the only one who's jailed right now. You've cited every other case you can find. It's an ROR type bond situation. What about the other component that we know the judge is very concerned about, and that is your client's propensity for violence? Even you yourself acknowledge that in the closing arguments of the case with what happened to Cassie on the video that the world saw, and in the instances with Jane. How can you reconcile your position now in this motion for bail that he should be free and is not a danger to the public when we know these instances happened in the past?
So I think the key thing with what you said is that it happened in the past. I mean, the only instance that we have in recent memory was one, and the trial evidence showed this, where Jane essentially, started a fight with Mr. Combs, smashed his head against the counter, threw glasses at him. Jealousy was always a feature of their relationship, and Jane was jealous of his relationship with another woman. And so that was about 14 months ago that happened. But other than that, everything dates back, a number of years, 2018 and before. And as we made the point we made in the bail application as well is, Mr. Combs is seeking counseling, was seeking counseling for domestic violence before he was arrested. He was attending a program here in New York. And we really wish that he could have stayed in that program, but the federal government arrested him and then he was in jail and he couldn't continue with this very outstanding program, which I believe he'll come back to if he's released. And that's really, I started my career in the Manhattan DA's office, and I would see, all manner of domestic violence, and it's a very difficult crime for everyone involved. It's difficult, obviously, for the victim who has to live in fear from one of the people in her lives that she's the closest to or he's the closest to. But what I saw in the DA's office is that these were not resulting in lengthy prison sentences. These were resulting in appropriate, treatment programs, self-awareness, therapy, things like that. And I think this is what Mr. Combs needs rather than an extended time in prison.
Mark, my understanding is that Jane wrote him a letter to get into the batterers program before he was arrested for the instant case. Is that correct?
So they were in the process of writing a letter. So what happened with Mr. Combs, and this is because of his notoriety, and I think this is really unfortunate, is that I tried very hard to get him into a batterers program in April, April and May, before he got arrested. And I think because of his notoriety, a lot of these programs didn't want to take him. And so I think what was happening around the time of the incident that was testified to at the trial is that Jane was in fact helping him write a letter to get into one of these programs. And at the end of the day, he didn't get into the program that I think the letter was directed to, but we got him to another program, and he did start, therapy and counseling in that program, and did that for several weeks before he was arrested. So that's what your question is. The answer is yes, that is true.
And thank you for that, Mark. Is he availing himself of any programs now in the jail?
So the MDC doesn't have the programming that some other jails do because it's not a final holding facility. It's really for people who are in a pretrial posture. So it's by its nature somewhat transient. So other prisons where people go to serve their sentences have much better programming, and so the programming at the MDC is not really that well established. That being said, we've cobbled together therapists and people who go in and speak with Mr. Combs, and he is availing himself of that.
When we come back after this break, we're going to turn our attention to sentencing. Currently, the date is set for October 3rd. Remember, Diddy was acquitted of the crime of racketeering conspiracy, acquitted of the sex trafficking offenses, convicted of transportation to commit prostitution. That carries a maximum allowable penalty of up to 10 years in prison. When we come back, I ask his attorney what he's hoping for in terms of a sentence and Diddy's plans after it's all said and done. We'll be right back.
I'm Vinny Paul.
Okay, guys. So pretty much what the attorney is saying is based on what Sean Diddy Combs was charged with. There's no way that this man should be still sitting in jail. Now, I know the world gonna say he did this to Cassie, he did that. Let's be clear, because we can't keep on with these damn conspiracies. He was convicted of what he was convicted of. He went to court. The jury did not convict him of that. Now, I know y'all gonna say, well, what about the tape? Unfortunately, they didn't charge him with battery. If they would have, then I'm sure he would have been convicted of. Y'all, let's stick with the facts. Y'all go on a tangent and start talking about, you know, he did something to Kim, and he did something to Pac, and he did something to Biggie, and he did something to all these people. Just know that there's no evidence, and he has not been convicted of that. So based on what he has been charged with, there is no reason why this man is sitting in jail. It almost feels like they're punishing him, but punishing him for something he was not charged with. And let's just be clear here. Let's be clear, and let's put it on out there. And I'm gonna put it on out there. And I don't care who gives a damn and who don't. If this man was any color other than black, like white, okay, he would not be there. As I stated originally, the CEO of 𝐿𝐵𝐾, that man did some really nasty things. Why are y'all not talking about that? Y'all are talking about Diddy with women that testified that they did it because they wanted to, while the 𝐿𝐵𝐾 CEO was actually messing with children. It's a huge difference. So I'ma hope, you know, some of y'all get the mental help that y'all need so that y'all can stop taking all of y'all frustrations and everything that a man ever did to y'all out on Diddy. Because these women that he was dealing with, they were hoes. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they required money for doing whatever it was that they were doing. So whatever understanding he had with them, they were hooking up. He was watching. So in all honesty, who was the person that was receiving the services? It wasn't him, it was them. Let's be real with what really is taking